You should see this video.
The title of this book is How to Make a Negro Christian. Now, after having read this book, I realized that it doesn't talk really about, it talks a little bit about how to make a black man a Christian. It talks more about why is it important to make a black man a Christian. And very few books have broken my heart like this book. I will not lie to you. Very few books have broken my heart like this. Because this book, firstly, brought to my attention that we did not choose to be Christians. Christianity was imposed on us with the most vile, violent, inhuman methods that you can perceive. This book also clearly identifies the fact that for black people to become Christians, it was more for the advantage of white people than it was for the advantage of black people. It served the best interest of white people for me to be a Christian than it does serve my interest. Another point, it talks about this guy called Dr. Reverend Charles Colcock Jones. Dr. Charles Colcock Jones was a slave master who had plantations, about 6-7 plantations. And in each plantation, there were slaves. There were black slaves. Now, in the north, black people were not even allowed to worship God. Black people were not even allowed to be exposed to the message of Christianity. Because these were savages. These were animals. Now, this Colcock Jones was one of the first people who gathered the people in his plantations, black people, and started sharing the message of Jesus. During that time, there were a lot of slave insurrections, meaning black people who were slaves would wake up in the middle of the night, kill all the white people that were in the plantations, burn their houses, and run away. They knew they would be caught, they would be killed. It didn't matter to them. There are more than 400 slave insurrections that are recorded in America. This is the guy who started saying, let me gather black people and let me teach them about Jesus. Let me teach them about the gospel. And he realized this. The more he taught them the Bible, the more he taught them the Bible, the more tamed, the more docile, the more diluted they became. The more he taught them the gospel, the more humble they became. The more he taught them the gospel, the more a threat, the less a threat they became to white people. And he's one of the few people who never had a slave insurrection in his plantations. Now he took it upon himself to teach white people and said, do not be afraid to teach black people the message of Christianity, because it makes them less militant, it makes them docile, it makes them humble, it makes them controllable.
I'm going to prove to you that religion is compromising your moral judgment. I'm going to tell you two stories, and I want you to raise your hand after each story. The first story is this, and these two stories are morally equivalent. Suppose I were to break into somebody's home, this loving Christian family, mother, father, and children and pets. They go to church, they pray, they contribute to charity. They're really, really great people. And I tied them up, and I tortured them, and I drowned the cat in the bathtub, and I shoot the dog, and then I set the house on fire and killed all those people. And then the police asked me, Dan, why did you do that? And I would say, no reason, the devil made me do it. Raise your hands if you think I'm a moral monster. Virtually every hand went up, right? Yeah, horrible, moral monster, how would he do? No reason, the devil made me do it. The second story was this. I got out my Bible and I opened the Bible to the book of Job. And you know what's coming. Remember how God tortured Job? He caused a wind to blow the building over. The wall crashed against those children, his children, his livestock and his animals. And it didn't say if he had a cat to drown, but he killed it all. And then God tortured Job with boils and horrible things that happened. If you want a magic bullet, by the way, that totally destroys Christianity in the Bible, you will find it in one Bible verse. It's the book of Job 2:3, the second chapter, verse 3. Let me read this to you. The Lord said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a blameless and an upright man, that fears God. He turns away from evil, and still he holds fast his perfection. He holds fast his integrity. God said this to Satan, and then he said, although you moved me against him to destroy him without cause. So God, why did you do this to Job? No reason. The devil made me do it. So then I asked that audience, okay, raise your hands if you think the God of the Bible is a moral monster. Can you guess what happened? Less than half of the hands went up in that audience. Isn't that proof that religion compromises our moral judgment?
You have not read the Bible. If I had $1 for every time that your God either killed someone directly or instructed someone else to kill someone, I'd be Daddy Warbucks. Here's a few examples, just a few. Genesis 7, God sends a flood to kill the entire population on earth aside from Noah and his family. 1 Samuel 15, God commands the slaughter of the Amalekites, including all of the children. Exodus 12, God kills all the firstborns in Egypt. Numbers 21, God sends venomous snakes to kill his own people. Genesis 19, God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah, killing everyone residing there. Exodus 14, God hardens the Pharaoh's heart for like the 5th time and causes the Pharaoh to go after the Israelites that he just set free. Then God drowns the Pharaoh and all of his army. Joshua 8, God commands the Israelites to kill 12,000 innocent men and women in the city of Ai. Numbers 31, God commands the slaughter of the Midianite men and the non-virgin women. God also commands the Israelites to take the virgin women for themselves. What a loving God. Judges 7 and 8, God commands Gideon and his 300 men to attack the Midianites, and 120,000 men are killed. 2 Kings 2, God sends 2 bears to maul 42 boys to death. Number 16, God splits open the earth, swallowing up 3 men and their families. Also in number 16, God sends a plague to kill 14,700 people because the Israelites were upset with God for killing those 3 men and their families. God really said, oh, you don't like me killing people? Let me kill more people. Judges 16, God helps Samson kill himself and a bunch of Philistines along with him. Exodus 32, God commands the Levites to kill their brothers, friends, and their neighbors. 1 Samuel 6, God strikes down 70 people for looking inside the ark of the Lord. Some Hebrew manuscripts say 50,070, but my Bible says 70. 2 Samuel 24, God sends a plague to kill 70,000 innocent people as punishment for David counting all of the fighting men in Israel. Isaiah 37, God kills 185,000 Assyrians in their sleep. I could go on. Those are just the ones that I know off the top of my head. And please miss me with that, oh, but that was the Old Testament bullshit, because y'all certainly care about the Old Testament when it comes to the story of creation, Adam and Eve, Noah and the ark, the 10 Commandments, Moses, King David, and those few verses in Leviticus about being gay. Yeah, all of a sudden y'all care about the Old Testament then, huh? Plus, your own God says in Malachi 3 and 6 that he does not change, meaning he's the same murderous God in both the Old and New Testaments. This is probably one of the easiest videos that I've made, and it's not like that one Christian that I made a video responding to who somehow didn't know that there was rape in the Bible. Anyone with a brain who has heard of this God knows that he's a killer. Yahweh is literally a war god. That's why there's so many instances of him telling his people to go into battle and kill everyone. He's a bloodthirsty, murderous war god. What I'm struggling to find in the Bible, though, is this many instances of this God showing love. Christians are so convinced that God is love when there's little evidence of that in the Bible, but there's plenty of evidence that he's a killer, and y'all are finding that hard to believe? I know the whole thing with Christians is like having faith and believing in shit that you can't see, but I didn't know that y'all were just blatantly ignoring evidence that's right in front of your face.